Swinburne podcasts.
This is one thing that really catches a lot of people is the concept of using mirrors instead of lenses to focus the light. Imagine making a lens 3.9 meters in diameter. The center of the lens will be very, very thick and very, very heavy, and the edges will be very, very thin. What you'll find happen is that at the edge of the lens it'll just break because there'll be nothing to support the heavy weight in the center. So above a certain size, a lens is just not practical. So you need to go to a mirror to perform that job for you. Gone are the days when you might think of an astronomer sort of going to a telescope that's on a tripod, perhaps, and peering through and just moving the telescope by hand.
We often get asked with our telescopes, where do you look through? You know, where the astronomer actually gazes through the telescope. And people are very disappointed to realize that human eyes are actually rather poor at looking at very faint sources of light. And that we haven't used human eyes as the detectors since the 1880s.
Well, we do have one, but it's in a box in a cupboard where it's been for about the last 10 years now. So none of the instrumentation we have on the telescope actually requires the user to look through it anymore. That's not something that most professional astronomers would do these days.
When was the last time that it was used scientifically, the eyepiece?
Well, I don't think it's ever actually been used scientifically on an instrument like the AAT. You wouldn't do science with the eyepiece on a 4-meter telescope. The last time I looked through one on the AAT was while sitting in the prime focus cage doing some imaging about 5 or 10 years ago. And there we had to use an eyepiece in order to tell that we'd acquired the guide star that we wanted to track our field with. But that's not really science. That's allowing you to point the telescope properly so that you can do the science with the other instruments on the telescope.
Basically, telescopes used for discovering things were used visually until about the last quarter of the 19th century. And then people recognized that this newfangled invention called photography could make a permanent record of what you were looking at, but also allow you to make much more accurate measurements of the things in the sky, and especially could record things that were completely invisible to the human eye. No matter how long you stared through the eyepiece of a telescope, if you put a photographic plate there, as it used to be in those days, and let it record for a few hours, then you would detect things that were completely impossible to see with the naked eye. But then in the 1970s and 80s, people recognized that you could improve things still further by using electronic detectors to do the looking for you. So things that are basically related to TV cameras are what we now use on telescopes. For example, a modern charge-coupled device detector will see probably 20 times fainter than a photographic film or plate.